So, good morning to all the students. Yesterday we have seen some of the important concepts regarding the virtual functions. That means we started our discussion on the binding concept. We have seen what binding is, what are the types of binding we have, and how we can implement this early binding and how we can implement this late binding by making use of virtual functions. All these things we have discussed, right? So in today's class we will continue with the same concept of binding, where we will be discussing the pure virtual functions and the abstract classes. Then we will shift our discussion to one of the important topic, that is the virtual destructors, right? So once you are gone through this virtual destructors, we will again move through pure virtual destructors, and that will be end of our fourth unit. So right, so this is how I have planned today's session. So let us start our discussion with the pure virtual functions. I think this particular topic we have discussed in the earlier unit also, right? So can anybody tell me what actually is the pure virtual function?
That doesn't have any body, sir.
Super, right? So a pure virtual function is a member function of the base class which does not have any body, right? So we can also call them as do nothing functions, right? Since they are not intended to do anything, right? So these are called as do nothing functions, and sometimes we can also call as abstract functions also. So by using these pure virtual functions, we just make the definition of the body or the definition of the member function assigned to 0. So if we make the declaration part along with this assignment 0, then we can call them as the pure virtual functions, right? So the main purpose of these pure virtual functions is they are used to implement the abstract classes. They are used to implement the abstract classes. Why we require this abstract class? Do you have any idea? Right. An abstract class is a class which consists of at least one pure virtual function as its member function. Such type of classes we call it as the abstract classes. So what is the use of this abstract class? Can anybody tell me?
It is used for upcasting, sir.
Super, right? It is used for upcasting, or we can also say that whenever there is a requirement that you want to make use of the base class pointer to refer to all the derived classes, then we will go for the concept of abstract classes, right? So we don't have any definitions inside this, right? We don't have definitions for these pure virtual functions, but it doesn't mean that the abstract classes always consist of the pure virtual functions. It may consist of member functions with definitions also, right? So don't forget that an abstract class is a class which consists of at least one pure virtual function, and it is not giving any meaning that other member functions with definitions should not exist, right? So the abstract classes can consist of some of the member functions which have some definitions, but the main purpose of this abstract class is, as one of our girl told, that it is used for upcasting, where you will be creating a base class pointer and you will make use of the base class pointer to refer to all the derived classes. So if there is a situation to refer to all the derived classes from a single base class pointer, then we can make use of these abstract classes, and for that we need to have the concept of pure virtual functions. Can anybody tell me what is the use of virtual functions? For some time forget about this pure virtual functions. What is the main purpose of virtual function?
To implement the
It
concept of
helps in
overriding.
implementing function overriding.
Oh, okay, to implement function overriding it is accepted, but what is the actual purpose of a virtual function? Yesterday we have seen it.
To implement late binding.
Super, right? It is used to implement late binding. So if somebody asks you what is the concept that lies behind the implementation of late binding, then you can simply say that it is the virtual functions. Without virtual functions you cannot make or you cannot implement the late binding concept, right? So this is the difference you should understand, right? So the virtual functions are used to implement the late binding concept, whereas the pure virtual functions are used to implement the abstract classes. Thereby you can implement the upcasting. That means you are going to refer to all the derived class objects with a single base class pointer. So this is the difference between this virtual and pure virtual, right? So please concentrate on these differences. Virtual functions, I'm just repeating it once again, right? Please keep it in mind. So the virtual functions are used to implement the late binding, whereas the pure virtual functions are used to implement the abstract classes, which help us to access all the derived class objects with one base class pointer, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. So now we will quickly go through all these introductory concepts and programs related to this pure virtual functions. Why? Because we have already seen these pure virtual functions earlier in our discussions, right? So a pure virtual function is a virtual function which has no definition. That is what we have defined, right? And the pure virtual functions are also called as abstract functions. This is the new point we have discussed, and I have discussed in the earlier slide also, right? So to create a pure virtual functions, we just assign a value of 0, and this is the syntax. We know that a member function can be made a virtual by preceding it with the virtual keyword, and you can make the virtual function a pure virtual function by succeeding with or by assigning with a 0 value, right? And these are the some of the important points regarding these pure virtual functions. As I told that the pure virtual function is not used to perform any task. What is the reason for why it is not used for performing any task?
Because it does not have a body.
Right, it does not have a body, right? It is also called as the do nothing function, and the do nothing function is known as the pure virtual function. A pure virtual function is a function declared in the base class that has no definition relative to base class, right? But what is that pure virtual function is expecting? The pure virtual function is expecting that the definition which is not defined at the base class should be defined at the derived class, right? So you don't give any body to the pure virtual function in the base class, but it is expected that you always define the body in the derived class. That is what the pure virtual functions, right? As I told that the pure virtual functions are used to create the abstract classes, right? That is what is explaining. So a class containing the pure virtual function cannot be used to declare objects of its own. Such classes are known as abstract classes. So from this point you can observe that the pure virtual functions are used to create the abstract base classes. So abstract base classes means you cannot create the objects for that abstract base class, but you can create the pointers and references for the abstract base classes, and those pointers can be extensively used to refer to the derived class objects, right? So what is the use of these pure virtual functions if I don't have any functionality, or if I don't have any body of the function? Means the main objective of this particular base class is to provide the traits. What are all the properties you want to give for it, for the derived classes? You can simply specify here, and you are expecting that those functionality is implemented in the derived class, right? Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we are just providing the requirements to the derived class, and by making use of this base class pointer, and you are expecting that the body is defined inside the derived class, right? We'll see it with an example, right? So after this pure virtual functions, let us go with the concept of abstract classes. As we know that the definition of abstract class is a class which consists of at least one member function as the pure virtual function. And another important point regarding this abstract class is you are not expected to create an object for the abstract class. Never ever you can create an object for the abstract class. But how we can make use of the properties or the functions that we have defined inside the abstract class means you can create a base class pointer from which you can access the remaining member functions, right? So coming to our theoretical part, an abstract class is a class whose instances cannot be made. That means you cannot create any object for that particular class. Such type of classes we call it as abstract class. So how can you make a class as an abstract class? Is there any method to?
By providing at least one
Yeah, please
pure
tell.
function.
Super, right. You can make a class as a pure virtual as an abstract class by defining a pure virtual function. It's not defining, by declaring a pure virtual function inside the base class. So once you declare a pure virtual function inside the base class, you are creating an abstract class. And remember that you are not supposed to create objects for the abstract classes, but you can create objects for its subclasses. Don't assume that whatever subclasses are derived classes we have derived from this abstract class cannot be, the objects of the subclasses cannot be created, right? The point here is, though you are not able to create the objects for the abstract class, you will be able to create the objects for the subclasses that are derived from that abstract class, right? So that is another important point. And we can also call these abstract classes as the abstract base class. And as I told that you can make a class as an abstract class by making at least one abstract function, by declaring at least one abstract function, and abstract function is otherwise called as the pure virtual function. Right? All these points we have discussed earlier, and this is one example we are going to discuss, right? What this particular example is trying to tell is, we are having a class employee and we have different categories of employees. For example, he is taking the concept of a developer, and another employee from this organization is the driver, right? And both of them, the developer as well as the driver, are having a function called as get salary. That means they need to have some salary, right? So both these classes will be having one simple data member which is called as salary, and both of them will have a function called as get salary. So the data member for both the classes, the developer and driver, will have the salary, and similarly they will have the get salary, right? But the employee, the developer and the driver has been derived from the employee class. I don't want to create any objects for this employee class. There is no need to create the objects for this employee class, but there is a need to create the objects for this developer as well as the derived class. In such case, as I told that whenever there is a need to create the objects for the derived class and without having any requirement to create the objects for the base class, then we go for the concept of pure virtual functions, right? So here you can observe that here I have IOStream, and then I am using the namespace std, and then I am creating a class employee here, and from here to here is the body of the class, and inside the class employee I am just creating a pure virtual function, right? Is it a pure virtual function or not? How can you identify it is a pure virtual function?
Virtual keyword and equals to 0.
Yeah, 2 points you should remember, that since it is a virtual function, it should have the virtual keyword preceded with the name of the function or the function definition, function declaration, and it should be succeeded with an assignment 0, right? And there should not be any definition for this function. Such type of functions we call it as the abstract functions or pure virtual functions or do nothing functions. Anything is okay, right? But we are accustomed for the term pure virtual functions. Let us proceed our discussions with the pure virtual functions only. So once I declare a pure virtual function inside a class, I can say that the employee class becomes the abstract base class, right? So the main use of this abstract base class is you are unable to create the objects for this base class, but you can create the pointers or you can create the objects for the derived classes from this abstract class, and everything you can do it in a normal fashion. The only thing you have to remember here is you are unable to create the objects for the abstract classes, right? So you are not expected to create the object class. Why? Because there is no requirement. I just want to make use of this trait. Trait means nothing but the property, right? I just want to make use of this get salary function to be redefined. It's not concept of redefined, to be defined inside the derived classes, right? Redefining means already some definition exists, and if you want to make modifications to that definition, it is called as redefinition. Here in the derived classes, we are not redefining it, we are just defining it, right? We are defining it according to the requirements of the derived classes, right? Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Right. So in the second function or in the second class, I am declaring the class developer, and I am inheriting it from the abstract class employee under the public scope. So I have one salary data member. What is the scope of this? What is the access specifier for this salary? Private, right? So the default access mode is the private. So if I don't specify, the salary becomes the private mode, and here I am opening the public scope where I am defining two functions. This is one function and this is another function from here to here, right? So what is this first function called as?
Parameterized constructor.
It is a parameterized constructor where I am taking the value from the user when the user is creating the object, and that value is assigned to the private member's salary, right? So this is clear. And the second function I am going to define inside this developer is get salary. So get salary means it is just returning the private data member's salary, that's it. And similarly, I am creating a class driver which is publicly inherited from the abstract class employee, and here also I have the private data member salary, and I have two functions. One is the parameterized constructor which assigns the value that is given by the user at the time of creating the object to the private data member salary, and I have another function called as get salary which I am defining it from the base class, right? So this get salary is a pure virtual function inside the employee abstract class, and here I am defining it to return the salary, right? So coming to the main part, what is this statement called? What is this statement doing here?
Creating object while invoking parameterized constructor.
Right. So super, right? It is creating the object D1 of type class developer, and it is also invoking the parameterized constructor with a value of 5000. So whatever 5000 is there, for this object salary will be there, and it is assigned a value of 5000. Why? Because this particular function is invoked, 5000 is passed here, and it is assigned to this one, right? So overall I am getting the salary of this D1 as 5000. Now the second statement is also similar, but you are creating the object D2 of type class driver where I am passing 3000. That means I am invoking the parameterized constructor with a value called 3000. So this particular constructor is invoked and 3000 is passed here, and 3000 is assigned to the salary of D2. So here the salary of D2 is having a value of 3000, and just I am just declaring two variables A and B, and A is equal to D1 dot get salary, and b is equal to d2 get salary. So I am invoking the get salary function of d1, which is the object of developer. So this function is invoked and it is just returning the salary. So what is the salary it is returning? What is the value that is stored inside A?
5,000.
5,000. Similarly, the second statement, the next statement is d2 dot get salary. I am invoking the get salary function of d2 object that belongs to the class driver. So here also it is returning the salary. Therefore the salary is already defined or assigned as 3,000. Therefore b will be storing the value of 3,000. Now I am just displaying this value. Cout salary of developer is A. Therefore here I will get the output as 5,000, and cout salary of driver is B. Here I will get the output as 3,000. Right. So this is how the abstract class is used. So here you can observe one point, that we are not going to create the objects for the abstract classes, and you are not giving, second point is, you are not giving any definitions to the pure virtual functions, and you are expected to define those to define the pure virtual functions inside the derived classes with your own choice, right? So these are the 2 points. So this program illustrates these 2 points. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
And some more important points regarding these abstract classes is, the subclasses of an abstract class must be defined the abstract method. So whatever abstract methods we have, abstract functions that are pure virtual functions, so the derived classes must define the body of that abstract methods, right? What do you mean by abstract method? Is there any confusion? What do you mean by abstract method?
Abstract function, sir. Pure
Abstract
virtual
function or pure virtual function or do nothing function. So whatever subclasses we have, and what are the subclasses we have derived from the abstract base class, they must define the abstract method, otherwise they will also become the abstract classes, right? So in the previous example we have seen the developer and driver. These are the 2 derived classes that are derived publicly from the abstract class employee, and you have defined the get salary function. The pure virtual function name is get salary, and you are defining it inside the developer as well as inside the driver also. So if you don't give any definition for the pure virtual functions in the derived classes such as developer and driver, so the developer and driver also remains as abstract classes. You cannot create objects for those classes. That is very important point you should remember, right? Abstract classes cannot create the instances. We cannot create instances for the abstract classes. So in order to create abstract classes, you derive a new class from that abstract class and define the pure virtual function. Then you can only create the objects for the derived classes. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And another point, this also we have discussed, that in abstract class don't assume that there are only pure virtual functions without any definitions. You can have other member functions and other variables apart from the pure virtual function, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. Another example, right? I have taken the animals class where I am defining a function called, a pure virtual function called as the sound. This is a pure virtual function, and you can see that I derived a class called dogs from animals publicly, and I am defining the sound function, which is a pure virtual function inside the animals base class, right? So I have, 1 minute. So I have the animals base class, and for this animal base class I have dogs, derived class called dogs, and then another derived class called cat, and then another derived class called as pig. So I have defined this as abstract class. That means there exists a pure virtual function. What is the name of the pure virtual function we have? sound, right? So what these dog, cat and pig derived classes are expected means they are expected to define the sound function inside the class definition. Otherwise the dog, cat, pig remains the abstract classes itself, right? Is it clear? So in this dogs class, I am defining the sound pure virtual function inside the base class as dogs bark, and similarly I am defining a derived class called cats, which is derived publicly from the animals, and I have one more definition. The sound has another definition which is different from the dog's sound function, right? So here I am writing it as cats meow, and similarly, oh sorry, here you have to write like this. You have to derive it class public animals. So I am creating a subclass called pigs from animals, and I am defining my own function sound for this pig, where I am just displaying the statement as pig's snort. So coming to the main function, I created 3 objects here. Is it possible to create the objects? Are these 3 statements correct,
Yes,
or
sir.
does they give any error? Is it correct or not?
It is correct, sir.
It is correct. Why? Because you are creating objects for the derived classes of the abstract class. But since you have defined the pure virtual function, you have given your own definition inside the derived classes for the pure virtual function, you are able to create the objects. Can you create the object for animals? If I write like this, animals of A, is it correct?
Not
No,
sir.
sir.
This is not allowed. Why? Because animals is a class which is abstract base class. You cannot create the objects, right? So after this I invoked the sound function of D. What is D? It's an object of dogs. So it will invoke, or it will simply print the statement dogs bark. On the next statement I invoke the sound function with the object of C, which is of type class cats. So the cat's meow statement will be printed here, and the next statement is p dot sound. That means I am invoking the sound function of with the object p, which is of class pigs. Therefore the sound function of pigs subclass is invoked, and it will print the message as pig's snort. So this is a simple example to illustrate the concept of abstract classes. This example illustrates that you are unable to create the objects for the abstract class, and it also tells you one important point, that the derived classes from the abstract class should define the pure virtual function inside its class. Then only you can create the objects, right? It is clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Now we are going into one important topic called as pure virtual destructors. Before virtual destructors, let us have a simple discussion on the destructors. So in the previous discussions also we have seen what destructor is. Can anybody tell me what a destructor is? What is a destructor?
It frees up the variables that were initialized by the constructor.
Right. So if I want to give some few important points regarding the instructors, whatever you told is correct only, but if you want to go with the basic points regarding these destructors, it is a member function of a class. Is it true or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And what is the name of the destructor we have? The name of the member
Same as the
destructor
class
function will have the same as that of a class. So the class name will be the destructor name, but you should precede it with a tilde symbol. That's it. Right. And the purpose of this destructor is to deallocate the space for the object. So when the object is coming out of the scope, then you should deallocate the space. What is the need for deallocation? We have a long discussion on this deallocation. While discussing the dynamic memory management, it is the responsibility of the user to allocate the space and to deallocate the space. The allocation is done by using the new operator, whereas the deallocation is done by using the which operator?
Delete.
Delete
Delete
option.
Right. So if you forget to use the delete operator, what happens? We have a long discussion on this.
Memory leakage, sir.
Super, right?
Memory leakage.
So it ultimately leads to memory leakage, which ultimately leads to entire. There may be a situation. Maybe you won't get into that situation. What actually is the memory called where you are dynamically allocating the memory? What is the name of
Heap.
that memory we are calling it as? Dynamic memory allocation is done on which area?
Heap, sir.
Heap area. Super, right? So there may be a situation. So if the memory leakages goes on increasing, there may be a situation where the entire heap will be under the leakage. So there will not be any space to create the dynamic memory for the new variables. So the program may crash. So if you forget to deallocate the space using delete, it will lead to memory leakage. So if the memory leakages keep on increasing, it will ultimately lead to the exhausting of the heap area. So once the heap area gets exhausted, then you cannot create any more variables. So that will ultimately lead to crashing of the program, right? So the deallocation of the space should be automated. In simple terms, in understandable terms, I am telling that the deallocation of the space should be automated. So this automation of deallocating the space can be done by making use of destructors. So whatever statements you have to deallocate the space, you just write it inside the destructor, and as you know that the destructors are automatically called while they leave the scope of the object. So when you write these delete statements inside the destructors, you will be guaranteed that the memory leakage will not happen, or you will be guaranteed that the dynamic memory is deallocated when the object is going out of the scope, and ultimately there will not be any memory leakage, right? So is it clear up to this point why we are using destructors? Simple point. The concept is destructors are used to destruct. What destruction they are going to do is they are going to deallocate the space that is already allocated dynamically for an object, right? So these are simple points regarding these destructors. A destructor in C++ is a member function of a class which is used to free the space occupied by or delete an object of the class when it is going out of the scope. This is what we have discussed. And the destructor has the same name as the name of the constructor function in a class, right? But the destructor use a tilde sign before its function name. This everything we know. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
So once we are clear with the destructors, we will go with the concept of virtual destructors. In yesterday's class, we have seen that there cannot be virtual constructors, but there can be virtual destructors. Do you remember that point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you can have the virtual destructors, and the pure virtual destructors are purely legal in C++. You can make use of the virtual destructors. You can make use of the pure virtual destructors. Everything is legal in C++. But remember that there is no concept of virtual constructors. So let us move our discussion through these virtual destructors. So can anybody tell me what is a virtual destructor? How can you create a virtual destructor?
Using
example-
virtual keyword.
Yeah, by preceding with a virtual keyword. For example, I have the class demo. Right, this is my class name. This is my class name. Can anybody tell me what is the destructor name we can have? How can you
Demo.
create a destructor for this? As I told that the destructor is a member function, therefore it will be a function and the name of the destructor is same as that of the class name. So the class name is demo, I create the function name as demo itself. But since it is a destructor, you have to precede it with a tilde symbol. Then only the compiler will come to know that this function is a destructor by looking at this symbol. Right. Now how can I make this destructor as virtual?
You are now putting a keyword before the tilde sign.
By just putting a keyword called virtual before this destructor. That's it. Right. And what is the need of this virtual destructor? This is important. We know destructors, they are used to free up the space. But what for these virtual destructors are used means, remember this is very important point. Right. So the virtual destructors are used to free up the space for the derived classes as well as the base class. Is it clear? So if we use a normal destructor, that means you define a destructor inside each and every class. And that destructor will be automatically invoked when the object is coming out of the scope, right? But when you want to make a single base pointer to point to its base class as well as the derived class objects, and you want to call all the derived classes destructors as well as the base class destructor, in such situations you need this virtual destructor, right? In simple terms, this is virtual destructor is a destructor which is used to free up the space only. But what objects are freed by using this virtual destructor means it is capable of freeing up the space for the derived class objects by using the base class pointer. This is what is required. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
So simple point you should remember is the virtual destructors are similar to that of the destructors which are used to free up the space, but these virtual destructors are used to free the space of the derived class objects by using the base class pointer. That's it. Right.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
how do you make this virtual destructor means it is necessary that you add the keyword virtual. In the previous slide also you people have given a good answer that how can you make a virtual destructor means before this destructor you will use the virtual keyword, and this virtual destructor should be present inside the base class or the parent class, whatever it may be. Right. So the virtual destructors are present inside which class? Is it in the parent class or in the derived class?
Parent class, sir.
Parent class. There is no need to define the keyword virtual in the derived classes. Once you define the virtual keyword in the base class, it is enough, and it will suffice our requirements. That means the virtual destructors are created, and we know the purpose of the virtual destructors. It is used to destruct or free up the memory space allocated to all the derived classes objects with respect to by making use of the base class pointer. Right. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
And one more thing, what is the main use of virtual keyword? What for we are using this virtual keyword? What is the information that you are giving to the compiler when you use virtual?
Mapping is to be done at runtime.
Super, right? That means you are instructing the compiler to do the binding at runtime, right? Or else you are instructing the compiler to implement the late binding. The same concept applies here also. So when you make use of the virtual destructors, the destructors are called at the runtime. The destructors are called at the runtime. But remember that when you implement the virtual destructor, it is going to free all the derived class objects and including the base class also. Right. And this point is very important. Listen carefully. So I have a base class, let us take it as BC, and I have the derived class D1 and D2 and D3 like this. So if I declare a virtual destructor in the base class, that is what we have discussed, right? The virtual destructors are always defined inside the base class. So by making use of the base class pointer, by just deleting the base class pointer, we can simply delete the spaces allocated for D1, D2 and D3 and the base class also. So a single pointer, very important point, please remember, the single pointer which points to the base class is going to deallocate the space for all the derived classes as well as the base class. This is the main purpose of virtual destructor. And since it is a virtual destructor, remember that this destruction always takes place at the runtime. Right. So is it clear up to this point? A single pointer used to deallocate the derived class objects as well as the base class is called as the virtual destructor. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear, sir.
And another point we have discussed is the destruction takes place at the runtime. Why? Because we are making use of the virtual keyword. And another important point, very very important, that I am saying that a single base class pointer is used to destruct. By making use of the single base class pointer, you are destructing or deallocating the space for the derived class as well as the base class. And remember that the order in which the deallocation takes place is from the derived class to the base class. It is not in the base class to the derived class. That means when you deallocate the space or when you delete this pointer, base class pointer, it is going to deallocate the derived classes first and then it is going to come to the deallocation of the base class. Right. So who is going to be deallocated first? Is it the derived class or the base class?
Derived class, sir.
Derived classes. So that is the important point you should remember. You always remember that the destructors are called from the derived class and then go to the base class. The order is important. Right. So that is the same point he is discussing. The base or parent class destructor use the virtual keyword. Okay, that ensures that both base class and the derived class destructors will be called at runtime. We have discussed this, but it called the derived classes first and then the base class. So first derived classes will be released and then the base class will be released. Right. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So why do we require these virtual destructors? As I told that the virtual destructors are used to deallocate the space starting with the derived classes. So you deallocate the space from the derived class objects and then you move to the deallocation of space from the base class. For that purpose we make use of the virtual destructors. Without virtual destructors, what happens? Without virtual destructors, what may happen?
Memory leakage, sir.
Memory leakage. Why? How it is going to implement this memory leakage? How it is going to go with for this memory leakage means, without virtual destructors, it is not guaranteed that the derived class destructors are called. So if you are not calling the derived class destructors, the memory for the derived class objects remains the same. Therefore, that leads to the memory leakage. Right. So if you have the virtual destructors, you are guaranteed that all the destructors starting from the derived class to the base class will be invoked, and you are guaranteed that the memory will be freed for both the derived classes as well as the objects as well as the base class objects. But if you don't have the virtual destructor concept, the destructor for the base class only be activated or only be invoked. The destructors for the derived classes will not be invoked. If the destructors for the derived classes is not invoked, then you are not deallocating the space that is allocated for the derived class objects. Therefore, there will be a memory leakage. Right. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Right, that is what he is describing here. When an object in the class goes out of the scope or the execution of the main function is about to end, a destructor is automatically called into the program to free up the space occupied by the class. This we know. This is the main functionality of the destructor itself. So when a pointer to the base class is deleted that points to the derived class, only the parent class destructor is called due to early binding. So if you are not using the virtual keyword, then it leads to the early binding. When you are making use of early binding, the base class pointer, even though it is referring to the derived class, only the base class destructors will be invoked. We will see it with an example in the next slide. Right. So in this way, it skips calling the derived class destructor, which leads to memory leakage issue in the program. So when we use the virtual keyword preceded by the destructor tilde sign inside the base class, it guarantees that the derived class destructor is called and then the base class destructor is called, where you can completely release the memory that is allocated for the derived classes as well as the base classes. Is it clear? One simple question I want to ask. What is the difference between a destructor and a virtual destructor? Anybody please respond.
Destructor deallocates in only that particular class. Virtual destructor deallocates for the derived classes also.
Right, super, right. So simple point you should remember is destructors are used to deallocate the space for that particular class only. Even though the base class pointer is storing the address of the derived class, when you use a normal destructor, it will only call the destructor of the base class. It is not going to call the derived class destructors. But if you want to make it a recursion, or if you want to make it a sequence of destructor calls, so starting from the derived class and then going to the base class, then you have to make the destructor inside the base class as the virtual destructor. Thereby the base class pointer, if you delete it, the destructors of the derived classes will be called first and then the destructor of the base class will be called. Thereby you are guaranteed that all the memory allocated for all the objects, derived class objects as well as the base class objects, are deleted successfully. Right. So this is an example without virtual destructors. Right. See here. Are you able to see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And what is the name of the class I have declared here?
Yes, sir.
Base. What is this function called?
Parameterized.
It is not parameterized. You should be careful in answering the questions, right? It is just a default constructor. We are defining the constructor with the class name and we are not giving any return type and there are no parameters. Therefore, this comes under the category of default constructor. I am writing a single statement constructor base class. And what is this function called?
Destructor, sir.
It is a destructor function that is defined inside the base class. So this is the constructor of the base class and this is the destructor of the base class. Once you create an object for this base class, this constructor will be invoked. Once the object the scope is going out of the main function, the destructor is called. Right. Now I have defined, forget about this output. I have declared or I have defined another class derived, which I am publicly inheriting from the base class. I have the derived constructor and I have the derived destructor, these two functions. Now coming to the main function, what is this statement doing here?
You are now
Creating a base class pointer to the derived.
Right. So we are creating a base class pointer. So when you create a base class pointer, it is going to invoke the base class constructor. So this constructor is invoked. So what is the statement that I am going to print here? Constructor base class. And you are assigning or you are using the new operator and you are creating the space for the derived object. Right. That means you are assigning the derived object to the base class pointer. So in such case, after invoking the constructor of the base class, it will invoke the constructor of the derived class also. Why? Because you have used this statement. So the constructor derived class is also printed. This is also printed. And after this, you are making use of the statement called delete BPTR. What is BPTR here?
Base
now.
class
Base
pointer.
class pointer.
Base class pointer. So once you are deleting this base class pointer, since this base class pointer is pointing to which class? Base class only.
Yes, sir.
And this is postponed. Why? Because this is a runtime allocation. So this is postponed until runtime. Therefore, the compiler will be treating this BPTR is pointing to the base class itself, right? Therefore, at the time of delete BPTR, it is going to call only the base class destructor. Therefore, this particular statement is also printed, destructor base class. So we are not going to call this function. Derived class destructor will not be called. Why? Because we are making use of that normal destructors. And since this is a compile time binding, why I am saying that it is compile time binding?
It's not virtual.
It's not virtual, right? Super, right? When we are not defining anything as virtual, then the compiler will automatically treat it as the compile time binding. Why? Because the default process of binding is the compile time binding only. So when you tell the compiler that this is something virtual, then you are requesting the compiler to postpone the binding process until runtime. So when you make use of virtual, then only the runtime binding will be implemented. At runtime, here the object of the derived object is placed inside the BPTR. At that particular point, you can invoke the destructor for the derived class also. But since it is a compile time binding, when you delete the BPTR, that means the base pointer, the compiler will still be in a position that it is BPTR is a pointer to the base class. Therefore, it is going to invoke the destructor function of the base class only. It is not going to invoke this derived class destructor. So the output what I get is, first the base class constructor is invoked, and then the derived class constructor is invoked, and then the derived class base class destructor will be invoked. No derived class destructor will be invoked. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
So let us convert this program into the virtual destructors concept. Right? Simple point is, at this point you make a keyword called virtual. That's it. Let us see what happens here. Same thing I am describing. I have created a base class with the default constructor and the default virtual destructor. Here you can see that there is a virtual keyword here. Even though this is a destructor, but since you are proceeding with a virtual keyword, this comes under the category of virtual destructor. Right. Similarly, I have derived the derived class from the base class under the public scope. So this is the derived class constructor, and this is the derived class destructor. Is it necessary? One question I want to ask: is it necessary that you should declare the derived class destructors as virtual? Shall I write like this, or is it enough to write it inside the base class itself?
It's not required, sir.
So specifying the virtual keyword in the derived classes is not required. It is necessary that you specify the destructor as virtual in the base class itself. That's enough. No need to describe that this destructor is a virtual, right? It is already defined inside the base class, right? So that is one point you have to remember. And here I have defined the destructor base class. Now the same concept, same thing, nothing I have done. The simple point I have added is, I have made the destructor inside the base class as the virtual. That's it. So I am creating a BPTR pointer for the base is equal to new derived. So by this particular statement, what happens is, you are creating the base class pointer, therefore the constructor of the base class is invoked. Therefore this statement will be printed first. And after invoking the base class constructor, since you are making use of the derived class object also, the derived class constructor is also invoked. Therefore this statement will also be printed. So this is the second statement which is going to be printed. Right. So after this, since I have used the virtual keyword, everything is postponed to the runtime, and this is an example of runtime polymorphism or runtime binding, whatever it may be. And after this, I am making use of this delete bptr. Once you are deleting the base pointer, it will invoke the destructor of the base class. But here I have defined the destructor of the base class as virtual. Therefore, it will check whether there are any derived classes for this bptr or not. So here the derived class has been assigned to this bptr. Therefore, it will go and check the derived class for its destructor. So here it is going to print this statement. That means it is going to invoke the derived class destructor first, and then it will come and invoke the destructor of the base class. So this is the order in which the constructors and destructors are called. Right. First, coming to the constructors point, the constructor of the base class followed by the constructors of the derived classes, and coming to the destructors point of view, the destructors of the derived classes are invoked first, then the destructor of the base class is invoked. Right. So we have the output as constructor base class, constructor derived class, destructor derived class. Here you can see it is not the destructor base class that is going to be invoked first. It is the destructor of the derived class which is invoked first, and then the destructor of the base class. Is it clear?
You are now.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes,
So
sir.
everything is achieved by a simple change in the destructor definition. We are making the destructors of the base class as the virtual destructors. Thereby you are intended, or you are making the compiler to invoke the derived class destructor first, and then the base class destructors later. Right. If it is clear, we can move to the next topic, which is a very simple topic.
You are now.
Clear, sir.
Clear, sir.
Now the concept is pure virtual destructors. Now tell me, what do you mean by pure virtual functions?
These don't have a body.
Which does not have a body. So if I look at the pure virtual destructors, I may be expecting that these are the virtual destructors which does not have any body. That means I am expecting that the definition of the destructor or the declaration of the destructor is assigned a 0 value, but this is not going to happen in the pure virtual destructors. So it is somewhat contradicting with the actual definition of the pure virtual functions. Pure virtual functions means which does not have any definitions, but the pure virtual destructors will have the definition. Right. So we will see. So pure virtual destructors are legal in C++. Okay. Pure virtual destructors must be defined, which is against the pure virtual behavior. Right. So we are expecting that the pure virtual function does not have any definition, but here the pure virtual functions must have the definition. Right. The only difference between the pure virtual and the pure virtual destructors is that pure virtual destructor will make its base class abstract, hence we cannot create the object of that class. That is the only difference. But the remaining things, if somebody asks you what is the purpose of virtual destructors, means you can simply say that the virtual destructors are used to destruct the memory that is allocated for the derived classes as well as the base class. The same thing applies to pure virtual destructors also, but two important points regarding this pure virtual destructors is you are going to define the destructor, pure virtual destructor, which is against to the original behavior of the pure virtual functions. And similarly, the pure virtual functions are used to make the base class abstract. So once you make the base class abstract, you are unable to create the objects. When you are unable to create the objects, what happens? You cannot make use of the class. But how can you make use of that class? By simply creating the pointers or references to the base classes. Right. And here one more important point, there is no requirement of implementing the pure virtual destructors in the derived classes. There is no need to redefine the things in the derived classes. Right. So this is one example we can see here. Right. So here I am defining a class base. Are you able to see the screen? Right. This is the last slide we have. Are you able to see the screen? Are you there? What is the name of the class I have defined here? What is the name of the class that I have defined here? Yes. So the name of the class that I have defined here is the base, and here you can observe that I defined this virtual destructor. So the same thing is there, right? You are creating a destructor with this till symbol and you are proceeding with the virtual, therefore you are making it as a virtual destructor, and in order to make it as a pure virtual destructor you are just assigning it to 0. So this is pure virtual destructor, but as I told that the pure virtual destructors will have some definition. So what you have to do is you have to define that pure virtual definition outside the class. So this is how I am defining the virtual destructor, pure virtual destructors definition. So this is the belongingness, that means this destructor base is derived from this, or is a function that belongs, or is a destructor that belongs to the base class. So this tells the belongingness. And in this particular destructor I am just printing a statement called base destructor, and then I am creating a class derived with base under the public scope, and I am creating a destructor. I have my own definition here, derived destructor, right? So here the one important point you should remember here is you observe that the definition of the pure virtual function is defined in the base class, which is not accepted in the pure virtual functions concept. So this is one important point you should remember in the case of pure virtual destructors. And coming to this main function, I have created a base class pointer b, and I am making use of this new, and I am storing it inside this one. And if I delete the base class pointer, what happens? What it is going to print? So since I am making use of the pure virtual functions, it is going to be implementing the late binding. So when it is late binding, you observe that this derived object is placed inside the base pointer. Therefore the base pointer is pointing to the derived class, derived object. In such case, it is going to invoke the destructor of the derived class first and then the destructor of the base class next. So the output will be the derived destructor followed by the base destructor. So the output will get as the first statement. It is going to print the statement that is defined inside the destructor of the derived class, and then it is going to print the statements that is defined inside the base class. So this is first statement, this is second statement. So this is how the pure virtual destructors work. As you can observe here that nothing to do, there is no difference between the virtual and the pure virtual destructors. Both are used to destruct the memory allocated for the derived classes as well as the base classes. First of all, the derived class objects memory will be deallocated, followed by the deallocation of the base class objects. But the point here is whenever you are making use of the pure virtual destructors, you are just making the class as the abstract class. So you may be in a requirement that in some situations you create the pointers for the base class. There is no need to create the objects for the base classes. There is a need for creating the pointer for the base class and then you assign the derived class objects. In such situations you require the concept of abstract classes. So to implement the abstract classes you require the pure virtual functions. So that is how we make use of the pure virtual destructors. But the purpose of both virtual destructor as well as the pure virtual destructor is same, which is going to deallocate the space for both the derived classes as well as the base classes. So that's all for today's session, and in today's session we have seen what this pure virtual functions are and what abstract classes are, what for we are using these abstract classes, and we have gone through some of the examples, and then we have discussed the concept of destructors followed by the virtual destructors followed by the pure virtual destructors, all with the programming examples. So this is end of today's session, and this is end of the 4th unit from your syllabus, right? So in the next class we are going to start one new topic from the next unit, that is unit 5, which we call it as templates, generic programming, right? So thank you one and all, and this is end of today's session. Bye.